Recording in progress.
Hello and welcome to the Promethean Show.
Okay. Go
Off
ahead,
the
Jim.
cuff.
You
Yeah,
got
off
it.
the cuff.
Just right into it.
I feel like we owe our millions of fans an explanation. We've been away for a little while.
I'm mad at them because nobody likes, subscribes, or comments.
Come on, like, subscribe, comment, share.
I didn't think. I thought it was implied that you're supposed to do all those things if you're watching.
Send us. Oh, I'm sorry.
I guess we have to tell everyone.
I'm here with Mini.
We have to tell everyone that.
I'm here with Mini Dan. Dan was accidentally thrown in the dryer for a while.
And I made a bowl.
And tumbled around for a... Said, aren't you a little thirsty?
We have our new sponsor, Hooks and
Right? Wow, dang, that's still big, man.
It's not big, I'm tiny.
Thanks.
They come in pints.
Thanks, Tiny Dan. I have to do like Gandalf in the cart. A wizard arrives precisely as he wants to. Isn't that the line or something?
Precisely when he means to. Come on, Scott.
Come on, thank you. Whatever, prove it, Jim.
Okay.
Just like hits play. I just thought I would cue it up.
Queued up on the board.
Play.
That's number one.
That's at 15 minutes and 17 seconds.
He's got Lord of the Rings, all three of them, extended edition, on loop.
I mean, what else are you gonna do during the day?
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I have it right here. I know this is not our topic, but I forgot. This was. Look what I have.
Oh, that's amazing.
This is the book. It's the audio on record. Then you follow along, and that this Bilbo looks nothing like he does in the cartoon. He's like some weird,
very bold
goblin Bilbo. I love it. I had this in my youth. Dan found this in his archives and was nice. And little Dan, baby Dan, gave it to me. Okay, clock's ticking. Jim, right. Your topic, you came up with it. Go.
I did. So, I was thinking we wanted to share our favorite kid shows and our least favorite, probably more our least favorite kid shows that we had growing up. So we'll start there.
Okay.
Rory, you said you had a list going in your head.
Okay. Lamb chops, play along.
Wait, favorite?
How old are you?
Yeah.
That's like 70s.
That Sherry Lewis?
No.
That's like 1958 or something.
Yeah, they had them on until I was a kid, man. PBS recycled that crap.
Okay.
I'm sorry for laughing. I was surprised because you were younger than me.
Yeah, by far.
You love lamb chops.
The Elephant Show.
That one I don't remember.
With Graham and
that Canadian show with the
Canadian one. Yes, that's the one.
Skinnamarink-doo.
I love you.
Are these ones you love or hate?
These are ones I love. Yeah, the Fred Penner Show.
Oh,
there's also a Canadian one.
What are you? This is
Saint Germain. It's actually like 500 years old.
Eureka's Castle. What are you so surprised?
Captain Kangaroo.
Yeah. I love Captain Kangaroo.
Okay.
I never watched.
Mr. Rogers. Mr. Wizard.
Mr. Rogers.
Okay.
Mr. Rogers, yeah.
Gunsmoke.
Is it Gunsmoke?
Sesame Street.
Carol Burnett Show. What's your?
I love Lucy.
Gather around the radio and.
He probably did listen to the Shadow and.
I do have that on an app.
Lone Ranger.
Old-timey radio app.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh, they have. Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
Yeah. All
totally derailed, but that's okay. That's what the show's about.
Rory, that's a surprise. Okay, interesting.
Right. Is it a good surprise? Are you bad surprise? Are you upset with me?
No, I love you. I love you even more after what you've revealed to us and our viewers.
From the depths of my heart.
My heart is.
So we're going like beating. Are we doing like what we
liked
shows?
We liked. Okay. Rory gave us some shows that were like seared into his psyche.
Yeah.
I thought we're like talking about like I'm older than you guys, so I grew up in like the 80s and stuff.
Yeah.
Watching and I think most of the cartoons in the 80s were really, really, really bad.
Yeah.
Like they have such nostalgia and like everyone loves them and they think about
bad.
They're
horrible. I never really liked Thundercats.
Thundercats isn't good.
It's not good.
A lot of the robot ones were awful.
Which one, Rory?
A lot of the robot ones.
Oh yeah, like Voltron.
Voltron, yeah.
Voltron. Okay. if anybody's
Yeah.
watched it, Voltron
Dumb.
doesn't show up till like episode 7. It goes on forever because, and I only know this because I watched it with my kids, and my son's like, "Is that Voltron? No, that's not. Is that Voltron? No, that's not."
No, they're just
When-
like,
Like
Well-
Dino Lions and everything.
When does
History-
Voltron?
History lesson, animated history lesson. So Voltron was anime, right?
Yes, I've
But
heard of it.
Voltron is it's patched together from multiple anime shows. I don't know if you're aware of this.
I can-
So
No.
like the cast, the heroes, they're not actually like they're not actually like the Voltron characters. They're like a different show. I don't remember what the show
wow,
is.
okay.
like
But like, yeah, it's like that's why like a lot of those like when we were kids, like basically America got handed like these cartoon like the Cartoon Network or whatever. There's a trip.
yeah.
Got like handed these anime shows and they're like, well, we're not gonna use like they were I guess they were too weird or what or just too obscure. And so basically like the early cartoonists were like, we're gonna take that, we're gonna take that, and we're gonna take that, and we're gonna go and then we're gonna have Voltron and the other Robotech, I think it was called, is
Yeah,
the same
yeah.
thing.
It
It's a series, it's a bunch of
It was
Yeah.
3 different series.
Well, I
Yeah,
didn't
there
know
was-
that.
There was the
Yep.
original, then there was the Robotech Masters, and then the next generation or new generation. But like, none of those shows are interrelated. So like, the second one has Dana Sterling, who's like the daughter of characters from the first series, but in Japan they were completely unrelated series.
yeah.
And the next one with Scott Bernard and those cool motorcycle armors that folded onto them. That was unrelated to everything. I kept talking about Rick Hunter's coming back, and they would show like a screen with somebody, and I kept waiting for Rick Hunter to come back, and he never came back because it was a completely unrelated
not the
show
same
to
show
all
at
the
all.
other ones.
That's good.
But that's the beauty of a Japanese or any show in another language, because then you just dub over whatever you want.
Right.
They didn't translate.
It's like Power
They
Rangers.
just made up its own.
Like-
I was just about to bring up Power Rangers, yeah, because that's like the action, the monster battles, all of the fighting
Yep.
for
Mhm.
like like I think it like pretty much up until like the 6th or 7th season of Power Rangers, it was all like American actors doing the plot.
Yep. Going to high school, getting
Well,
to
yeah.
watch beep at them, and then
Yeah. I'm sorry, like so I mean, as a kid, they looked old, right?
Right.
And
Oh,
and
yeah.
you just kind of assume,
You
well,
gotta
they're
be 30 to play
teenagers, right?
teenagers.
And then I got to adult and like why, and they were on like Netflix or something, and I watched it, and I'm like, they still look old. They were not teenagers.
yeah, that so and also most extreme elimination challenge MXC
Amazing.
Gold. Jim, if you haven't
Amazing.
watched it, not safe for
No.
work or family friendly. They did. There was a show called Takeshi's Castle, and it was a I don't not a game show, well, a game show in Japan where like a big mass of contestants went through challenges to then fight this guy Takeshi.
Kind of like Wipeout.
Yeah, like Wipeout. Well,
Mhm.
Wipeout.
Okay,
So
yeah.
Yeah.
So then, Comedy Central took all the footage of Takeshi's Castle and then just dubbed over it, mashed bits of episodes together to make up their own plot. It's hilarious. It is when 22 years ago, when I was just married, we had cable for about this long that was left over at our apartment when my wife and I moved in because they didn't turn it off. We would watch Most Extreme or MXC, Most Extreme Elimination Challenge.
Yeah, this is
Just and C Lab 2021.
Yes.
plug, but they're not a sponsor. But I think MXC is on Pluto.
It is on
TV,
Pluto.
and you can
It's-
watch them all.
It's so
That's awesome.
C Lab 2021 was C Lab
good.
2021 season of a Hanna-Barbera show that was all like Save the Whales kind of thing, and they completely dubbed over it, and it's
Oh,
so
Gold.
funny. Except for the last season, because one of the voice actors died,
Oh,
and then they created a new character, and it just wasn't funny. It was like sitcoms where they introduce a kid, like this is the beginning of the end. There's a kid. There's a character no one loves, no one likes.
And that kid moved in with the Simpsons that episode.
I was thinking more like when Leonardo DiCaprio moved in with growing pains. with Mike Seaver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember that? Remember that? Okay,
No,
cartoons.
because I didn't watch that, but
I know
what
you
you're
weren't
talking
even
about.
born yet, Jim. Dan, you already mentioned 80s cartoons.
Yeah, I grew up with that, but I'd like to mention how good cartoons got in the 90s.
Okay,
Like
yeah.
series, Superman animated series,
Gargoyles.
the X-Men series was great.
Gargoyles
was good.
Oh, good.
It was like the 80s was just like there was like long commercials that didn't.
Yeah.
And even
It
though
was
commercials
they were
too,
commercials for their toys.
Yeah,
And
but
then in the
now
90s, they
actually
were
get
like, we can
costs
still
go
sell
up on commercials.
toys.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the 90s, they're like, we can still sell toys, but make the TV, mildly quality.
But buy all our play sets and toys. That's a Homestar Runner reference from 20 years ago.
I do remember Homestar Runner. That was my generation.
With cheap commandos. That's gold.
And there was a great cartoon in the 80s that no one's gonna know. It's super obscure. The Adventures of the Galaxy Rangers. No one's gonna know it. It was like
I've heard of it.
Cowboys in outer space. But it was awesome.
I've heard of it.
Like, it was. What's that?
Jim's heard of
I've heard of it.
Oh, you have?
I haven't
Wow.
seen it, but I've heard of it. Yeah.
It's super.
Once more. What's it
The
called?
Adventures of the Galaxy Rangers was probably the best cartoon of the 80s.
How long was it on? Do you know?
I think there's 70. I have all the DVD that has them. It's like 70 something episodes. And I remember reading like in Starlog magazine. I don't remember that weird like sci-fi magazine. They were talking about like how expensive it was to make each episode because they would like animate it and then like do the dialogue and then like tweak the animation.
One season.
Like, match the dialogue. It was like insane how much they
70
did.
episodes.
70 something. I can't remember.
Does
exactly.
it wrap up or does
No,
it
just kind of ends. But it was deeper than what was going on in the 80s in general. But they didn't have a toy tie-in, so they did. But they were only released like in Canada and Europe or something. They're really hard to find. They're super valuable now.
Yeah.
But they're garbage toys too. They weren't great toys.
So it's just one 65 episode long season.
Yeah. It's weird.
The thing, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, well, I mean, a lot of the 80s was kind of like an experiment. Like that was the first time. Like to be fair, the 80s history lesson, right? The 80s was like, oh, we can sell toys, but like apparently that's when they started thinking kids didn't have their own imaginations and they needed a plot for the story for the kids to play with it. They couldn't just make up their own. They needed to know. They made TV and they added that. But in the 80s, it was so like episodic, those episodes. Like a lot of times there was nothing to wrap up. Like, what are you going to wrap up? Nothing happened. Like each episode is its own ending.
A lot of the week.
And each one, and they're all the same. Like Bionic 6 was like the worst about like just every episode being like the same formula. Like they go along for like 17, 18 minutes. They fight the good bad guys. The bad guys are horrible. They get beat up really bad. And there's never any threat or any challenge. There wasn't anything to overcome because you just knew as soon as they fought, they were going to beat everyone up. The bad guys would run away, and then the same thing would happen next episode.
That's the same with Power Rangers. Every episode, just come together, get the sword,
equation.
kill the thing.
Yeah,
Don't do the individual
Voltron
things.
did that too.
Right.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah. Voltron.
Fight his lions, become Voltron, still get beat up, make
Then
the
get
sword, cut him in half.
Yeah, and then spin around.
It's like just
and
make
kill him.
the sword. Like as soon as you say, make Voltron, make the sword. Cut him in half.
You have to watch like the you probably got to wrap up soon, but you got to watch like the Power Rangers. It's like just lead with, oh, there's a monster.
Instant robot sword killing.
You know what show did it well that didn't have to always come together to like form like Sailor Moon.
Oh, I thought you were going to say lamb chops.
And on that note,
Sesame Street.
Sesame Street.
Today is
Mr.
brought to you by the letters
Rogers.
F, C, K.
Being a child of the late 80s, all the Disney. So Tailspin.
Yes.
Changed my life. Yep. I drew the Sea Duck. I wrote stories about pretty much being Baloo, but like myself, like a human Baloo.
You are like
Sea Duck. Oh man, I love that plane. I drew it all the time. I like Chip and Dale, DuckTales. Those were fun. Darkwing Duck was even
Darkwing
better.
Duck. Yes,
they're all good. Yeah.
Darkwing Duck's humor was a step up. It was more solid. Animaniacs. Oh man,
Animaniacs was fantastic.
Ninja Turtles cartoon, like I talk about action figures, and I bought all the action figures that I could. At one time I think I had over 50 of the action figures.
Yeah.
Ninja Turtles was so good.
Ninja Turtles.
X-Men in Batman.
X-Men, great.
These cartoons were so good.
X-Men actually had a plot to it though, like a long arc.
Because
X-Men, Spider-Man, the 90s Marvel comics had like a plot.
Yeah.
They had something going on.
They would have to say previously on X-Men. Because it was continuous. It was good.
Right.
I remember Saturdays being like, I have to see the next episode.
Yes, because if you missed an episode, like I remember that was my childhood, was Saturday mornings was like we are watching. And I mean, like when I was a kid, they didn't have a lot of it was like dubs of anime stuff. You had like Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Digimon. That was kind of my childhood, was those. And they were all like there was a plot, there was a story. And if you missed an episode, you were a little lost. Or you could be a little lost, so you didn't want to miss it. So just like that, make sure you stay tuned for our next episode.
We didn't get into the 2000s.
Right.
There's a bunch more we can talk about. And I didn't mention Thundar the Barbarian or any of those other cool
We will mention them at length next time.
Venture Brothers. Oh.
Stay tuned. We'll say.
Oh yeah, Venture Brothers. Oh, that's not really a kids' club show.
Not even a little.
We'll move into quality adult cartoons.
That's what we can do
for the next episode.
Yes.
Previously on Promethean, and we'll. Okay. All right.
We should start with them.
Folks, like, share. Okay.
All right.
Do
like, share, subscribe. Do all the cool things. Make us feel awesome. We need your support for our emotional self-esteem.
Thank you.
Have a great one.
Thank you, little Dan. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Remember our sponsor.
Bye.
Alcohol.
Nope.
Sponsored by alcohol.
Close it.
Sponsored by alcohol and cigarettes.
Recording stopped.